that simple word happy,
Mm.
I have to admit, often we don't associate that with
No,
business.
no.
I know it sounds it sounds
Mm.
silly,
Mm.
but we don't say that. We're not we don't often associate because we're, it's the hustle and the business and
Mm.
working hard and
Mm.
everything, but
Mm. Mm.
we don't hear people say, I'm really happy doing my business. And I think that whole mindset
Mm.
shift
Mm.
um going from busy, 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 busy
Mm.
to
Mm.
I'm grateful and
Mm.
I'm happy.
Mm.
I think that's a big transformation in itself.
Oh, it's massive. And I say to people that in order to build a better business, you need to build a better you. It's that
Mm,
simple for me, and so that's why my business focuses on sales, leadership, and mindset, with a heavy dose of the mindset. Because when you're happy, I've said it a few times here today, when you're happy, you're so productive.
mm,
You're so productive. It doesn't feel like a chore. You didn't start off to get into business to have it feel like a chore and to grind it out every day and to be paid, not much at all for your effort. That's not
mm,
why people started to get into business. Typically, they wanted to get in there because they want to be their own boss, want to have their own lifestyle, want to be in control of their own destiny, create financial wealth for themselves. Like these are the reasons that people start getting into business.
mm.
But it
Yeah.
doesn't always come to fruition. Mm.
No. So I'm going to share something, Tony.
Please.
There are times when I'm like, and this will be the same for a lot of people, that I
Mm.
just feel so overwhelmed.
Yep.
Like, I'm a mum with young
Yep.
children. I've got
Yep.
my business. I've
Yep.
got projects,
Yep.
and there are times where I'm like, holy poo poo.
Mm.
Um,
Yep.
I don't feel like I'm doing anything well.
Mhm.
Everything is a huge priority. I'm feeling so overwhelmed.
Mhm.
I'm feeling stuck.
Mhm.
I get paralyzed.
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
How do you and what is your way to be able to get from that paralysis
Yep.
to just move forward?
Yeah. Again, simple, not easy. So thoughts become things. Where you focus your attention, that's what you bring into your world. If you focus on being stuck, then that manifests,
Mm,
right? So if I think to myself, I'm stuck, I'm stuck, I'm stuck, I'm stuck. And whether you say that verbally, whether you say that internally, you're stuck. And now what happens is the stuck goes from this big to now it's this big, right? Because I keep thinking about being stuck. And the more I think about it, the bigger it becomes.
mm,
Right. So the first thing is that you need to recognize to stop dwelling on the past. Right. So when you're thinking about being stuck, you're looking backwards. You're looking at the problem. The problem's happened. Right. It's you're by definition looking back. And the whole thing is we need to get you to look in a forwards direction. So the forward direction is, well, how do I solve this? Well, if you're feeling overwhelmed, simplest way to overcome overwhelm is to break things down, is to, as I said, get them out of your head, get them down on paper, write them all down, and put a number beside them in the order that you want to do them, and methodically just chip them off or chip them away, and be happy with the fact that you're doing that. Right? That's
mm,
how you can do that. But in regards to moving forward, it's firstly stop dwelling on the past. By dwelling on the past, ask yourself some questions around what am I dwelling on? Why am I dwelling on it? What is it that I'm missing out on by dwelling on the past? What's the opportunity cost, right?
mm,
Because by asking some of those questions, you want to really give yourself a jolt. And it's like, oh my gosh, like I'm looking backwards and I'm dwelling on this thing that's happened. And can I really change it? Well, the answer is no, you can't.
mm,
So why am I sitting here fixating on this thing and wasting all my effort, my energy, and etc.? It's
mm,
like you're wasting your time, right? So now it's about swinging your focus around to again go back to what I said before about I got this goal. And when you're so connected to this goal, see, people fall over from their goals often, typically because they're not connected to it. Because maybe the goal's too big, maybe they're too ambitious with the goal, maybe they're fearful of criticism, whatever it might be. I call this the January 1st effect. Every January 1st, it happens, right? Every single year that I've been on this earth, people set goals. By the middle of January, they're all done. It's
mm,
over. And it's over because they're setting them for all the wrong reasons. When you are so vividly clear on that thing that's in front of you and you understand why that's so important and you're so connected to that thing, that's where the magic is. The magic is to get clear on that and then to start to move in a forward direction. So we go back to stop dwelling on the past. Focus on what it is that you want, which is in a forward direction. Always look in a forward direction. Remember, thoughts become things.
mm.
When I think positively, when I think in a forward direction, when I think solution oriented, that becomes a thing. When I think negatively, when I think about being stuck, that becomes a thing.
Yeah.
Right? Now, here's the thing. Consciously, a lot of us know what we should be doing. So if I use weight loss as an example, the majority of us know that we should eat good food and move a little bit, drink some water and get a bit of sleep. I think most people would know that's what you need to do, right?
Yeah.
In order to lose weight. People don't do it. Why not? Because they're operating from their subconscious. 90% of the things that you do today, that I do today, are going to come from our subconscious mind, right? Our beliefs, our thought patterns, things that have been there for a very, very long time. And you have to break that. And you have to break that. Otherwise, you're going to continually do the same thing over and over. We operate in patterns, right? Our mind operates in patterns, and you have to break the pattern, break the cycle. That's the only way that you're able to move forward. So by having something in front of you, then it's about, the next bit is around self-awareness. So the awareness of the fact that I am wasting my time procrastinating, I'm feeling overwhelmed, I've got doubt, a limiting belief, I'm spending my time on things that aren't serving me, right? So I create the awareness. Now, how do I do that? Well, I ask two magical questions, right? And you don't need to pay me big money to ask these, right? The first one is, you ask yourself every day, what did I do well today? What did I do well today? Every day, what were the things that I did well? And you want to ask that question first. Why? Because if I say to people, or people, how are you going? What I typically get is a tale of woe. Right, well, that went wrong, that fell over, but all this stuff, right? Whereas when you say, what went well? What were the good things? Again, go back to what I was saying 5 minutes ago. Gratitude, feeling good about yourself, feeling happy, right? You do that because you asked that question. The second question you ask is, then what can I do differently? Not what went wrong, beat yourself up, all those things. No. Can't change today, right? Can't change today. What can I do differently moving forward? And so you do this over a period of time, and you start to recognize the fact that, oh my gosh, I'm not making that phone call that I should be making. I'm actually acting with fear. Like I'm procrastinating on making that phone call that is the potential customer. And why? Because maybe I'm fearful of being rejected. Maybe I'm fearful of them saying no to me. And as a result, I'm going to avoid that call like the plague, and I'm going to go and clean my desk.
Yes. I've got a very clean desk.
Right. Well, you need
Velcro.
to pick your phone up, right? Make more phone calls, right?
Yeah.
And so that's something else, is to recognize that you need to create self-awareness. Now, self-awareness is not the panacea, because now what happens is, now that you're aware, you can still ignore it. It's like, yeah, I'm aware that I'm procrastinating. Who cares? So the key is the A word, action. You have to take action. Action. And I thank you. And I had this conversation with someone this morning, because they were saying, oh, Tony, can you suggest any books, or can you suggest any videos that I can watch, or whatever? It's like, yeah, I can. But here's where the magic happens. When you get on the field and you play the game. In sport, they call it match fit, right? So when people are returning from injury, they're out in the training paddock and they're doing what they need to do. But there's no substitute for match fitness, right? So even though you could be as fit as you want on the training paddock, the moment they get on to the field, into the cut and thrust of the game, then they start to run out of steam. So you need to get match fit. No different in business. You get match fit. If you are fearful of making phone calls, a really, really, really simple way to overcome your fear of making phone calls is to make phone calls. That's it. Like it really is, lean into the thing that is scaring you the most, because that's where the growth and the magic happens.
Absolutely. We've got a few comments here. There's
wow.
always lots of comments.
Wow.
So Peter says, great message, stop and smell the roses, look down at your mountain and not look up at others, unless those others are inspiring you and pulling you forward.
I agree with that, by the way. That's a good point you make, is that if you're looking up at others in a comparative way, no. But like you said, people have gone before you. So whatever Peter, whatever it is that you're trying to do, I'll guarantee you that someone's gone before you. That's the reality. And it's so easy now to find out what they do. Like people leave breadcrumbs, right? And so there's this amazing website, google.com, and you Google it up and you try and figure out what did someone do to create whatever it is. How did someone start a small business? Or, it might be a small business in clothing, or a small business
Yeah.
in, plastics manufacturing, whatever it is. There are people who have gone before you. So yes, if they inspire you, great. If you're comparing yourself, if the Joneses, those damn Joneses, if you're comparing yourself, then I'm going to say don't do it.
Yeah. Sean, he says not blaming others. Oh, lots of comments. So I'm losing them. Peter, 100%. Declan, great value and content as always. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Luke Maroney, make shit happen. Absolutely. That's action man here, making shit happen. And Peter, no need to blame yourself. It's a learning experience. Had to learn that myself. And one of the things is that whole we get stuck, right? We get, like you mentioned, getting stuck in the past and getting stuck in our head and
Yep.
getting stuck in the fear and procrastination.
Yep.
Let's drill down to a really practical way of how we can go from getting stuck in letting our ego hold us back. And this is the 3-2-1.
Yep.
Which I love. With anything, whether it's waking up at 5 o'clock or anything else, that I think it's a really good practice to have when you are feeling in that mode, to be able to go, all right, you've had your moment. To a certain extent, snap out of it. Let's get going.
Yeah, that's the thing. And can I say, I have moments, right? I don't want to sit here and say that I don't, because I do, right? And I have my
Because
own
you are
moments.
human.
I'm human. We all have our own
Yes.
moments. The difference is that I'm able to get out of it pretty quickly, whereas others sit and dwell, fester, play this thing out on your mind. And again, what you think about manifests, and it becomes bigger and bigger. And all of a sudden you've turned, a little molehill into this huge mountain that becomes very difficult to move beyond. So it's about understanding, what it is that you need to do. And I touched on it. In order to get unstuck, stop dwelling, figure out why you're dwelling. And there's some questions that you can ask. And I mentioned those earlier. Then it's about putting your attention into a forwards direction. What is the thing that you want in front of you? Always. So when you drive a car, where do you look? Do you look out the front, or do you look at the rear view, right? And the answer is you look out the front, because if you look in the rear view, you're going to have a crash. So keep looking out the front, keep looking towards the road that's in front of you. It really is, again, it's simple. It's just not easy.
Yeah. And that's a really good analogy, because we still have to look back, because you just got to be able to keep an eye on things, but you've got to have your vision this way to keep powering forward. I think that's some really, really good tips there. Let's talk about belief. All right, we talked about why.
Yeah.
And belief. So is that the belief in oneself,
Of course.
or belief that we're going to be able to get there?
Both. It's the same thing, right? So and Henry Ford said this, whether you think you can or you think you can't, either way you're right. Thoughts become things. I said it before. Thoughts become things. When you believe that you can do something, you will do it. The problem is that people don't believe. And again, I'm not talking at a conscious level. Like, yes, you need to be at a conscious level, but I'm talking at a subconscious level. I'm talking about doing those two questions, asking those two questions, and starting to create the awareness. And then once you've created the awareness, start to challenge yourself, right? So limiting beliefs are fears, doubts, right? These are limiting beliefs. These are things that hold us back. And fear manifests itself in procrastination. When you are procrastinating, you are fearing something, right? And here's the psychology of all this, Cheryl. Our mind, your mind, my mind, everyone who's watching mind, it has one role. That's it, just the one. It's called survival. It's called keeping us safe to survive and make our way through life. That's the only role that it has. And what happens is, when it spots danger, then it wants to avoid it, right? Which is terrific. The problem is, with fear, there are two types of fear at the highest level. There is danger. Danger is, I'm about to get eaten by a shark, or chased by a dog, or run over by a truck. That you want the emotion of fear to kick in big time, right? Because it's going to get you moving, right? But the other fear, this is where we've all gone a bit skew-if over the generations, is irrational fear, with an I, irrational fear. That is public speaking, making a sales call, asking that boy or girl out, approaching someone at a network meeting. That's a rational fear. Are you in danger? Are you in danger when you go up to someone at a network meeting? Of course you're not. Are you in danger of when you pick up the phone to make that prospecting call? Of course you're not. But we've created this thing in our mind to make it feel like it's a dangerous situation. Our mind says, let's avoid that. Let's avoid that. And so what happens is then you have two choices, right? So you have the choice of making the sales call, which is this dangerous, fearful thing in our mind, right? Versus cleaning the desk, right? Then you clean the desk, you do the dishes, right? You do things that are less painful, less dangerous, right? Because again, the mind's role to avoid danger, to avoid the discomfort. Like if your mind had its way, you would sit in front of Netflix 24/7 and you would be so content, right? But the reality is that the magic happens with the growth, with getting out of your comfort zone. So the way in which you overcome procrastination is that you have to use projection. So what happens is, in front of me, I got to make a phone call. Oops, I'm going to avoid that. I'm going to clean the desk. When I project into the future, if I project 6, 12, 18 months into the future, now I think about, well, if I don't make this phone call back here in August 2020, and now in August of 2021, well, my business may not survive. And we started off talking about the stats of, 60% of businesses fall over within the first 3 years. Well, one of the biggest reasons they fall over is because they don't have enough customers, right? So in a year's time, how are you going to feel if you've got to shut up shop and you have no customers because you haven't done the things that you should have? And so you sit and think about that moment, right? And you project, and so you pile on the pain. You pile on the pain of hurt, unhappiness, anguish, disappointment, the R word, regret. In 12 months' time, I am going to have an enormous amount of regret if I don't do the things that I need to do and my business has to shut up shop. I'm going to look foolish. I'm going to be stupid in front of my friends and my family. All those people who said that I shouldn't have done it, they're going to be in my face going, see, we told you. So you pile this on, right? Now this is the equivalent of sticking a key in a car and starting the motor. This is like getting the motor started. So you use pain to take action. Now what you're doing is you're saying, well, sales call, desk, right? But now we're going, hang on a second, pain in the future, regret versus the sales call. This pain is far more excruciating than this pain in front of me. Hence, I need to make this call. Does that make sense? And I'm giving it to you very simplistically. So now it's a case of I've stuck my key in the car, I've started my motor, that's got me going. Now what do? I look out the windscreen. I look out the windscreen. So I don't fixate on the pain. I don't fixate on the anguish. I don't fixate on the regret. I've used it for what it's there for, and it's got me into action. Now I'm looking forwards. And I'm looking forwards to the things that I've got to do. And I know that I've got to make these phone calls because I know that when I make these phone calls, my probability of success and getting a customer increases significantly.